All right, welcome to another episode of Warrior versus Zombie. And today, as always, I have an amazing warrior guest. Talk about her in a second. But first, let me remind you as to why you're here. Success is a journey, it's not a destination. As warriors, we all have a history of ups and downs, wins and losses that are all part of making us who we are up to this point, and they provide a foundation for our path forward. We all battle our inner zombie as well as those zombies in our world. And in each episode, I interview warriors who are aspiring leaders from all walks of life: entrepreneurs, artists, health practitioners, business owners, literally any inspired leader that has a story to tell. These warriors have a cause, they have a unique value, and a vision that goes generations into the future. And today's guest is no exception. Laura Lee Kenney is an awesome warrior. She's a wife, a mother, an author, a speaker, financial planner, and retirement specialist. Her warrior journey changed dramatically after a car accident that exhausted her family's savings. And being self-employed, she saw her 20 plus years of hard work melt away, leaving her wondering where all her money went and believing there had to be a better way. At age 38, Laura Lee started over with no formal education background on a financial education and a mission to change her financial future. She shifted her focus on asset protection and financial education with systems and structures to make better money decisions. Good thing to do. Laura Lee has now been impacting her clients, family, and friends for over 25 years as a financial planner, specializing in retirement and setting up multiple streams of income along the way. With all that she has accomplished, she now embraces a new abundance mindset and continues on her journey of self-empowerment, learning to respect, love, and forgive herself for the decisions she's made in the past. Laura Lee Kenney, welcome to Warrior versus Zombie. How are things in, what are you, New Brunswick? Is that where
New
we're at?
Brunswick, Canada.
Yeah,
Yes.
my gosh.
Well, it's
Okay.
a bit chilly here, and we know what you think of cold weather, and well, especially snow, not necessarily cold weather. But anyway, it's a cool, crisp day right now, but
Mhm.
it's not snowing. Yesterday we had a little storm, but anyway.
I love snow to look at. I just don't want to have to I don't want to have to get out and work in it or any of that kind of stuff. That's just not too inspiring to me.
I don't blame you.
But anyway, so
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever had a guest from New Brunswick, so I think you're a first there. So after 108 episodes, I guess we should have somebody from New Brunswick, Canada. We've had Canada, but
Yes.
mostly on the West Coast, not the East Coast. So,
Yes.
anyway, so how are things other than brisk and chilly? What else? Anything else going on in your world?
Oh, there's a lot of things going on in my world. My world has changed so much in this last couple of years. As you talk about the journey that we go on, oh man, lots of ups and downs and hills and valleys that happen to us, and
Mm-hmm.
still alive, still surviving. God's looking after us. We're good.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a
Um,
beautiful thing. Yeah. It just moving forward is always a warrior attribute. The biggest challenge I usually have in talking to warriors is we want to look past and not really sometimes share what we've learned. So we'll talk about that when we get into your story. But so anything else exciting? Family's okay? Everything's good?
we're doing pretty good. Everything isn't perfect. That is life. Unfortunately, you have some challenges along the way, and they tell us it's how we deal with the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. But I'm so excited about the things that are coming up, the possibilities in the future for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to help people learn to heal their money stories, because it's stories,
Mm-hmm.
beliefs that we've had from family members, from ourselves, our own interpretations of different things. Anyway, I guess my journey in this life was to learn about money,
Yeah, it
and
sounds like it.
I learned the hard way, just like a lot of people do. Yeah, I have a lot of stories that I made some choices that I just shake my head at.
Well, we're going to get into that story in a second. We're going to take a quick break. But all I can say is I love the fact that that with Warriors as we talk, and actually we had Mike Raber on last week in the podcast, and we were talking about the imposter syndrome and his focus on that. And when you talk about things you're raised with, things that are in your mind that you don't even realize are there, habits, muscle memory that you really want to forget, all kinds of things come into play when we get into some of the most important aspects of our life. So, well, let's do this. I want to get right into your story. I want to hear, and I know, as Warriors, we tend to want to shortcut this, but I really want to hear how you got from where you started. And I know we have some journey behind us, but how you got from where you started to where you are today. And then we'll take a break after that, and then we'll get into what you're doing. So let's hear, for the audio audience, let's hear a little of our theme song, It's Not the Getting There by Ricky Jean Wright. And we'll be right back with Laura Lee Kenny and Warrior versus Zombie. All right, Laura Lee, I know you're chomping at the bit and all kinds of exciting stuff. I can feel the energy and I can see all the excitement on your face since we're doing this video as well as audio. So tell me, how did you get to pick where you started? I mean, I've got so much story myself that we could spend, several podcasts, just me talking about all the things that I went through. However, tell us your story. How did you get from where you started to where you are today?
Well, let's just say I started very much as a pioneer lifestyle. I am a baby boomer. So I grew up in a family of 12 with 12 children in the family, plus mom and dad. So being a baby boomer along with that, and you can imagine we were so wealthy. Not. They struggled to put food on the table with that many 12 children in 17 years.
Wow.
Poor mom. So anyway, I was always looking to work hard and find ways to make money to help out, sometimes just to help out in the family situation. And that changed later on. Dad was able to change some things for himself that he ended up doing extremely well. But anyway, there's a lot. I'll go back to that if you want me to a little bit later. But
well, I'm curious, are the just for clarity's sake, the 12 kids, is this like your two parents, they birthed 12 kids, they raised 12
my mother
of their own? This isn't a blended
No.
Oh my gosh, okay. So
and no, we were not the Waltons.
Yeah.
Yeah, there could be a lot of stories to tell on that part of it. That's for sure.
I'm sure.
I started out, working very, very, very young. Didn't have a choice in some of it. But anyway, wow. I embrace that type of entrepreneurship very much.
Wow.
So much so that I started selling cosmetics. If you can imagine, I was the youngest one with a cosmetic company. I was all of 16 years of age, going to school, working at the local grocery store in the bakery, and selling cosmetics on the side. I had, and if I had an evening off, I could babysit somebody. I'm sure there was a lot to do it for that. But I continued that. I got married very young, have 2 children, and I'm still married to the same handsome guy.
Good.
Yes. And that's not common all the time. Now, were we always a bed of roses? No. Because as you know, that life isn't always like that, but we've had our challenges, but we're doing well, and happy to be with one another.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit more of your journey. You started with the 12 kids and 11 siblings and some of that. So tell me about that. So that creates its own challenges. You've got
challenges. All right.
Yeah.
In the younger years, there was no running water in the house.
Wow.
So when I say pioneer, People think
Yeah.
you live in Canada, that doesn't happen. But it did in our household. There was a lovely pump to great water, but you had to pump it and bring it in, boil it, do all of that. Like I believe I was 9 before we had running water in the house
Wow.
and a hot water tank. There was a hot water tank on the side of the stove, which was run, of course, by wood.
Hmm.
Mm.
So, wow. So I have family in Arkansas, and what I can remember as a child, I didn't experience that, but I can remember going to my great grandmother's place, and them not having running water. But I didn't have firsthand experience with that in my day-to-day life. So that's got to be an interesting starting point all over. So tell me a little bit more about where you went from there. It sounds like you know, and I know now that you've moved forward and done a lot of things, but tell me a little bit about that.
Well, lots of learning experiences throughout that. But I always knew that my grandmother told me that if you worked hard and got good grades in school, got a job, you'd be able to do much better. And of course, very Christian. And I had a lot of really well-meaning things said to me about it's not spiritual to be wealthy. Don't be greedy and don't ask for more. You should, it's better to give than receive. So this little girl grew up not knowing how to receive that well. It was pointed out to me many times in my life, Laura-Lee, accept the compliment and say thank you. I didn't even realize that I was not being open to receiving more.
Right.
That blew my mind. I was like, really? I'm very thankful for what I have, but I didn't realize it was okay to ask for more, because it even says it in the Bible, ask and you shall receive.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a big zombie, really. I know maybe it came as a surprise to you, but I think we all struggle with it. I mean, I still struggle with what one of my coaches says, your having level. In other words, it's almost like, well, I've got what I need to pay the bills or to eat and I'm comfortable and, all that. Is it greedy to want more, or is it, somehow, or do I deserve more or whatever? I mean, but the thing is, if you don't need it to feed yourself or your family, there's always somebody you can serve with it. So it's just getting out of your own head and starting to look at the world around us and see what we can do. So yeah, having level is an important thing along the way. So tell me more. This is great.
Okay. Something I like to recycle and upcycle. I have a bunch of name tags around the house.
Oh, there we go. Laura-Lee Kennedy.
And I had put it on, your success is absolutely guaranteed. And I know you know where that came from. Yes. And that it's all, we have to get into the feeling. I had no idea. I'm kind of jumping a little bit, but when I got into into the financial field,
right.
The self-help came along with it. and it just, you have to learn to get into the feeling that you deserve it. It's okay for you to ask for it. But I'll jump back a little bit. Okay. When I said I started doing the cosmetics early on, I did that for 25 years.
Wow.
And I had a car accident in just before the 25th year, and with the 22nd year, I had this car accident, which shouldn't have been that big a deal. But unfortunately, the physio that I was having did more damage to me than the initial minor whiplash that I had.
Really?
Yes. And a lot of things went on, and it was basically, it took quite a little while for me to recover from that. In fact, it was a 3-year journey to get better. And during that time, just before that, I decided to go to be a VIP executive and go for a company car. Well, I recruited a ton of people. In fact, I had 123 representatives underneath me.
Wow.
A lot of work, but I wasn't as good a coach or manager as I needed to be. It was a very explosive growth. And there can be challenges with that if you're not prepared or don't have the support yourself. And it was really me as a one-person team in doing that. And as a result, when I could not physically work, guess what happened? They didn't work either.
Yep.
So a big lesson on that. Anyway, during that time of the recovery, I, you start looking at what happened here. Like, I mean, I got to go on trips. I won contests, a lot of wonderful things, got to travel a lot with the cosmetic company. When I never thought it would ever be traveling. I didn't, it exposed me to a lot of wonderful things, a lot of great people. But anyway, in the process of all of that, of course, I was very young children and stuff. And you think you have all kinds of time to do things. And guess what? Time has a way of going very fast at certain stages of our life. Yeah. And it can be very eye-opening when you just anyway, all of a sudden, the little tiny bit of money that I had put away was gone.
Wow.
Really never ever looked. I invested most of my money into conferences, vacations, conventions, into me to uplift me, thinking I had all kinds of time and that I was really making this expansive growth and, setting things up as, thinking that you're going to have income coming in because you're going to empower the people underneath you and stuff. But anyway, that was all gone. And the thought of starting over. And of course, at that time, the Canadian dollar was just absolutely terrible and against the US dollar. And even though at the time, for a lot of the years, the products were made in Canada, but it had a US price tag, of course, on it because they were an international company, but mainly in North America. And the owners there had passed away. And anyway, the younger ones decided to sell the company. And it was just like the pricing at 52 cents on the dollar. And it just was like, okay, if I'm starting over, maybe I should choose a different career. What did, I didn't have any money left over. We didn't have hardly anything for savings whatsoever. We weren't out on the doorstep and we weren't living in a car or anything like that. My husband had a job with a government job. It was a good paying job for the area we lived in. But there was no extra, what he made. It took everything that he made to pay the bills. There was no savings. There was no trips. There was no extras. And of course, we lived the lifestyle before that, where we did a lot of things and all of a sudden not. So anyway, someone came to the house to talk to me about investments. And I had always learned, I learned in school how to do income tax. And she was telling me some things. I'm like, honey, I think you need to do a little bit more research yourself. I knew some things that she was not telling me that was correct. And it really shocked me. Anyway, she decided to ask me if I was interested, since she understood that I knew a fair amount, would I be interested in seeing her manager? I said, well, I could. I'm looking for a new career. Anyway, long story short, 25 years later, and you talk about, an eye-opener. I thought understanding to do income tax was a big thing with that, which it is, but there's so much more to it than that. And I was blessed to be able to guide people for 25 years. I no longer do that because in the last couple of years, especially with COVID, everything has its time. And it was interesting. I did one career for 25 years, another one for 25, and I'm 95, so I'm still here. That I was like, uh, what do I want to do? And I woke up. I had this voice telling me to do something. Now, there was nobody else in the room, but I heard this voice. You need to teach financial literacy education to young adults. Like, I've done that a little bit on the side. However, how am I going to do that? I asked for guidance, and I got several coaches and learning different things. And lo and behold, someone else came into my life that said, when I had said I wanted to set up a nonprofit or a not-for-profit, and they said, well, I can help you out. I could show you how to do that. And I was like, really? Told me some things. I'm like, I'm not so sure about that, but we'll see. Anyway, come to find out that he knew a lot about this.
Mhm.
And since that, I'm like, well, maybe there's a better way. Even though I want to do this, my idea was to teach them financial literacy, show them how they could make some passive income, because the passive income is really the savior, I feel.
Mhm.
But it has to be passive incomes that you like and enjoy, and it's kind of it's connected to what you're planning on doing. And I thought, whoa, this might be really interesting if I could take them and actually show them some different ways of doing it. So in order to show people, you really should do it yourself. Hence, I did a little bit. We have a duplex here that we had rented out. I
Mhm.
did, of course, investments with mutual funds. You could do GICs, but I really wasn't into GICs myself personally. Insurance policies, there's some ways of doing that. There's many, many ways to set up passive income that I knew of. And lo and behold, I just do a tiny little bit. Because of what's gone on in the last few years on social media and stuff. Wow, have I ever been getting an eye opening on it?
Mhm.
And guess what? This platform is another one of
The income
ways.
streams. Yeah.
Yes. Hence how we met.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, I think the thing is, we all need about 7 streams of income or more. I think to kind of diversify. I mean, I think that in the financial world in general, even if it's, one specific vehicle like stocks, or, I mean, just diversification,
Mhm.
can really hedge against things in one, whether it's one company versus another company, whether it's things. But if you're inspired to do it, that's the whole thing. The Warriors, I've been retired since 2005, and retirement, by the way, isn't doing nothing. If you know me, you'd say, well, you're retired, but you're doing a podcast. You're retired, but you run a networking group. You're retired, but, the answer is retirement is not doing nothing. In fact, we don't, as Warriors, I always tell people, don't pick that type of retirement, because if you do, the average life expectancy is 6 years. And I don't mean just going on trips and having fun. Yeah, it's great to enjoy the journey, right? That's what we all should do. But we all have a purpose. There's a reason we're here. And when you find that, like you say, where that heart gets in there, you start feeling that this is where you're supposed to be as a warrior, then that enables you to have the energy to keep going. I intend to live to be 120 years old with the vitality of a 30-year-old. So that takes work if you want to get to there, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so any other zombies, any other challenges you overcame along the way?
Oh
It
my
sounds like the car
gosh.
wreck was a crazy one. Having 11 siblings is definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
Now you're in your 3rd incarnation. Any other things before we start talking about what you're doing today?
The last 3 years prior, well, I guess 4 years ago, we went through a series of unbelievable soap opera style situations. Some of which family members do not want me to share. But let's just say we had 6 immediate family members pass away.
Oh my gosh.
6.
That's
2 of
crazy.
them 40-year-old nieces. 40-year-olds.
Wow.
And we lost our beautiful cottage to a historic flood and windstorm. We didn't have flood insurance, but the windstorm, we should have had coverage. And we attempted to do a lawsuit to cover for it. And the lawyer felt we had a good case, and I won't get into that. However, with COVID shut everything down, you could not go and get a court date.
Mm-hmm.
So we were locked out of that potential of getting some recovery. But during the time of the cleanup, it just looked like a bomb went off. Like it just, you see these shows on TV where when you see it and you're living it yourself. And I physically got hurt on the land site. Can't say campsite anymore because the camp was gone.
Yeah.
However, I physically got hurt, and I think I had a concussion that the doctors didn't realize. And Ed had taken me to the hospital 3 times, twice within a week, and then the next week, and then I think it was 2 weeks after. But July that year was crazy. He said, "I'm not taking you anymore." He said, "They're going to send the police here for spousal abuse." And I said, "Well, Ed, each time there was other people around, but I got knocked out." And I got so stressed that I was in the capital city. I called home and I said, "I'm okay. I got lost." And he said, "Well, I thought so. You've been gone so long." And I said, No, I can't figure out how to get home."
Oh, wow.
He said, "Well, drive around till you see." I said, "Ed, you don't understand. I can't even figure out how to get out of the Costco parking lot. One bridge was out and there was an accident on the other. And my mind was so stressed. I couldn't figure that out." I said, "No, just wanted to let you know that I'm alive. I'm safe. I'm going to go get some water, a cup of tea, and veg out. Because if I can't do that, I shouldn't be behind a wheel.
Right.
It's a privilege to drive, not a right."
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, needless to say, and during that time, the recovery from that too, that's when I was like, do I need the stress of the retirement planning? Because it was interesting when you talked about the 6-year span. I love selling life insurance, disability insurance, that type of insurance. I didn't do general house and car insurance, but I did all the other types of insurance. And I didn't have a problem talking about that, but you are so right about the lifespan. Hence, in Canada, the reason that the old age is at age 65, that they figured most people don't live long enough to collect it, let alone
Right.
any amount of time. So you need to enjoy yourself. I very much believe in enjoying yourself,
Mm-hmm.
living, but still planning for the future. Give yourself, because for me, money gives you choices, and especially for females. It's not in every country, but a lot of our countries, the females do not have choices. So it's important for everybody to do that, to look after their money and realize that it's small steps sometimes to start. And we'll talk about that as that snowball goes down the hill. We'll talk about that a little bit later, what that can do for people.
Well, let's do this. It sounds like we're getting really close, and I know you're chomping at the bit to share with the audience a little bit about why you're doing what you're doing today. I kind of get a picture of that in my mind with your journey. So let's take a quick break. We'll hear a little more of Ricky Jean Wright and our theme song, "It's Not the Getting There," and we'll be right back with Laura Lee Kinney. All right, Laura Lee. Well, I'm still blown away by the start and all of the interesting things. And I'm gonna have to listen to this one a few times here. But anyway, so tell me, why are you doing what you're doing today? So I started to hear a little of that as we ended the last segment. So tell me that.
Well, I really feel that I have a calling and passion to help people change their financial situation. And right now I'm so happy to be collaborating with several people as a team effort. And we call ourselves More Value Now.
Right.
And the reason for the name is that we want to give value to people and helping business people. And we specialize in business people. And of course, if we give more value, that's even more, it's even better. And we need to start taking action now, because we've all waited way too long.
Mm-hmm.
Procrastination is rampant for most people. And we've been held back, especially, I don't know, yous weren't locked down like we were in Canada for as long as we were. US wasn't, but we certainly were. And it has played, like, the ramifications that are going to happen going forward is really going to be very eye-opening for a lot of people. So we really need to step up and step out and say, hey, let's connect with other people. I very much am a team player, a collaborator. I've always done that all my life. I could take people and put them together. And you did that with me. You gave me a few names and stuff and said, I think you two should hook up. And I love that. And I never ever knew how to monetize that. Never worried about that. But I'm learning that there's ways to do that. And I feel great about it as long as it's a win-win-win for everybody involved.
Right.
So with More Value Now, we help business people that have 2 to 10 employees, whether they're full-time or not, that doesn't really matter, that have an idea, they've been working and they have a certain income. And that's our specialty. That's our value added proposition, where we help coach and guide them. And sometimes it's systems that they need set up. Sometimes it's procedures. Sometimes, like, there's different avenues that people need. Sometimes it's just mindset coaching.
Right.
It's what they need, but they tell us what they need. So we don't tend to, we talk to people and find out what they need at that time, rather than put this package together and say, oh, it's got this value of $15,000, $20,000. And half the stuff you already have or you don't want, you're not interested in. Those really don't give value as much as you would think it would.
Yeah, I think that you're right. And I mean, I think part of it is that you can duplicate a lot of systems, and sometimes it is systems, but also there's an aspect of, I got to do more of this. I need to quit doing this. I need to add this. I need this partner. I mean, there's just a lot of aspects to it that as entrepreneurs or small business owners, sometimes we try to do it all, and there's gaps that we have to fill. And so, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense.
Anyway, so I'm very impressed of our team. We each specialize in different areas, so that if there happens to be somebody that needs help in a particular area, that person steps in and helps them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I love the team aspect of it. I really do. Because I think as a team, we can help more people faster.
So as a team helping people faster, this sounds like you're launching this. Do I have that right? I mean, so this is kind of a new focus for you. So
yes, it is.
And I gather from that you're bringing to the party some of your financial education, that kind of thing, and so on, and your experience with your sales, cosmetics, stuff like that. There's a lot. I can see a lot of things, experiences, expertise that you would have to bring to the party. What are you hoping in terms of an impact? Was I always say, if anything were possible, a signature question that I ask my clients and I ask is, if anything were possible, and oh, by the way, everything is possible, right? Just like you showed that little placard, right? what kind of impact are you hoping to have as you guys move forward with this More Value Now endeavor? Are you like just one-to-one, thousands of people, millions? I don't know. What's the scope of the vision that you have there?
Well, I dare say when you have a group of people, you're going to have a very big vision. It's just wonderful because you help feed off one another. We haven't really set a number per se, because sometimes that limits your thinking into the particular number. So we're very open to be able to be because we're in 3 different countries, our group, which is, so we have a unique perspective on culture, background, but our goal is to help people make money, teach them. It is very interesting that sometimes as a financial planner, when I was first trained, it was like, you don't go out for coffee, you don't do this, you don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
No. We want to show people how other ways to add income. Yes, sometimes you have to trim. And sometimes you don't even realize how easy it is to trim the cost in your business. And that's where Conrad is very specialized in that.
Mm-hmm.
He can cut the expenses by making it more simplified for people. Certain setups that he has that I'm so impressed with that part of it. I'm going to do a lot of mindset, of course. I've certainly enjoyed that part of my education.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm a little perky, a little bit of a firecracker. Yeah, that too. But I'm very analytical. 25 years of finance, there's got to be a little bit of the numbers there.
Yeah, that's important, and it really is key. I think a lot of times, and I really don't even recommend on numbers other than if there are benchmarks or mile markers, if you will, along the way, because I don't like, they can be limiting, because usually when you set a specific goal, and I know I've heard SMART goals, all this stuff, right? But if you you really want to have a vision of where you're going in a way that's not limited by the how. In other words, you will figure out the how. It's not, I can't, or I can't see it, but it's how can I? And the thing is, the answer starts with, this is a big thing that I'm going to do. This is a large amount of impact. How am I going to get there? How fast am I going to get there? Those things can be engineered to some degree along the way, but it starts with knowing the possibilities. So I agree with you. I think trying to say, okay, this is how I know what to do, and here's how far I think I can get. Guess what? 95% of what goes into that thought process is your zombie brain. It's the things that are geared to keep you from embarrassing yourself, keep you from overextending, keep you from maybe getting criticism from somebody to say, yeah, you can't do that. And I say, oh yeah, no, we've all, that's the thing is, unfortunately, and it's even from the people you care about the most, right? Because usually they want to protect you as much as your zombie brain wants to protect yourself. So they don't want you to be disappointed. They don't want to see you hurt or fail, right? And so you got plenty of that. Most people have plenty of that. It's the possibilities and having a team like you described to help move you forward, right? Those kinds of things will give you that energy, that warrior moving forward success. Well, let's do this. We could talk for a long time, and I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to talk again. I think we're going to do a mastermind upcoming here and get into some of the stuff that you guys are doing today with More Value Now, and I'm excited to do that. But let's do this. I'm going to come to you for a second, and then we're going to get into, if we take away anything from the podcast, what do you want us to take away? So go ahead, tell me if there's anything else we should talk about before we get into that.
Just one thing.
Okay.
Our why we're doing it.
Yeah.
When we get to know our why, when it is so in our heart that every morning, if you're having a bad day, you think, what would you really like? I told you I recycle things.
Yeah.
It just says my name and says, what would you really love?
I love it. And I think that is an important question to always come back to is, am I inspired? I use the term, I'm never ever want to be a motivating speaker, a motivational speaker. I want to be a inspirational speaker, which means you have to look within yourself and be real with the fact that what do I love? What is inspiring me? All right, so let's do this. We're coming into what I call the land the plane segment. Till I got 4 million miles on airlines. So, but we're going to land the plane into the final approach here. When we come back, I want to hear if we take away anything from this conversation, one or two things, whatever it might be. I want to know what you want the audience to take away. So let's take another quick break. Hear a little more of Ricky Jean Wright for the audio audience, and we'll be right back with Laura Lee Kenny and Warrior versus Zombie.
My screen almost went dead.
Oh no.
I plugged it in. I didn't realize I had it unplugged. I was like, oh my goodness, but it's faded. I don't know what's going on, if it's something on Be Connected or what, but we can still see one another.
Yep, and I'm glad of that. Okay, so tell me, as I said before the break, if we take away anything from this podcast, from this discussion, from your story, from your current vision, what would you want us to take away?
Well, the thing a couple of years ago that I said to myself, somebody put me in this little exercise and asked me, what did I want? What do you want? It went on for 7 minutes. And I thought, so you went through all of the things, the house, the car, the trips, whatever. And do that for yourself. Get somebody to keep rapid fire. Ask, what do you want? What do you want? At 6.5 minutes, I said something that I'm like, oh my God, that's it. And it was learning to love and forgive myself.
Wow.
It was major for me. And last year, I added a word. Unconditionally.
Unconditionally. And I love that. Yeah.
You know, we need to learn to respect ourselves and forgive ourselves and love. We've got too many terrible things that go on. I really believe that we need to share love and kindness with one another. You know, we don't need to be, I grew up in the era where it was strapped in school, although I was never strapped in school. I was a good girl in school most of the time. I stood in the corner for finishing my homework too fast and apparently distracting the other kids. But at home it was if you spoil the rod, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child.
Oh yeah.
And if one person got in trouble, the whole household got in trouble.
Wow, and you got 12 of them to get you in trouble, so, or 11 of you to get.
So I very much was a peacemaker for a lot of years, but yeah. I really that is my big thing. And if we can help and collaborate with one another and be kind, do things from kindness. I really think they tell us we get a lot more from honey or with honey than anything else. But I do really believe that. And that's my biggest thing. And
yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to say our company, when we talked about joining together, we all had to put our values down.
Mm-hmm.
And we all had to have almost identical type values. In order to be able to collaborate with a larger group of people. And so that was very important to us. And my number one was respect, loyalty, loving kindness.
Yeah, those things are all And it very much is important because that whole construct of values. Annalisa Landa was one of my guests, and she focuses on values, and I would say that's really an important one. But what you said about forgiving yourself, that is something most people or a lot of people miss in your journey. If you start getting down and you ask whys, I always say you got to ask about 7 or 8 whys when somebody says, this is what I want to do. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want that? Why do you want that? And all of a sudden you get to something as powerful as, I need to forgive myself. I've made mistakes. We've all made mistakes, right? We've all, I've got a list, and not even a list that I mean, my zombie brain remembers all of it and tries to hold me in place. But, I've got a lot more to do. You have a lot more to do. So loving yourself unconditionally is a really powerful warrior message for every warrior listening to this to get out. So, Laura-Leigh, how do we stay in touch? I know you're on the Be Connected platform where you're a VIP elite candidate as I am. But tell me, besides Be Connected, Laura-Leigh Kenny is easy to find compared to David Roberts, because there's more of us than there are of Laura-Leigh Kennys. But so how else, is there any other way that you want us to stay in touch?
Yes, there certainly is. And this new social media platforms are new and exciting for me. Of course, you can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter, just starting there on those 2 places. But we have some new websites. And if you'd like to book a meeting with me, you can do laura.more.expert/calendar. And of course, David will put the links in also. But we're going to share something with you. Some snow just came off the roof there, David. Have you heard that noise? That's what was going on. We would like to do share David's audience. He loves to help empower other people. So we would like to make a special offer for David. And that link for that is going to be laura.more.expert/vision warrior for David, so that you can get the link later. And when you tell me, I'll tell you a unique value proposition that we have for your followers.
Awesome. Well, that'll be great. I'll have all those links in the show notes. And so, are you interested? Are you sharing that? Now? Or
I'll tell you just quickly a little bit about it. The name of it is Results with Supervision 22. And the reason for the 22 is each session that we have with people is only 22 minutes. And it's coaching, guidance for a whole year. If you can imagine, for as many 22 minutes as you want to set up. Now, when I tell you the price, you'll say there's something wrong with the numbers, because I know you understand numbers.
Sure.
But the price is $1,497 for as many sessions as you want. Now, this has to be for you. You have to be a business person making a certain amount of money with a couple of employees. So you've gone up a few steps already.
Sure.
But this is a done DIY program. And the reason why you say, oh my God, you're going to be at a business doing this. You have one meeting first. And if we feel that you're not a fit, you're not at the level you need to be to go through this, then it's an automatic guarantee, a refund of their money. Right. Which is not common these days. Right. Not at all. But we want to work with people that are ready to make a difference in their lives, in their family lives, and some even in their community. Because as soon as you start making money as a business owner, that money multiplies to different avenues, different people, different businesses. We need the economy to get going again. So so they have to do homework. We give them homework to do. It sounds homework, but you would give them things to make changes in their business. But you have the guidance and the supervision. And we have different people that are specialized in different areas to help out with it. But can you imagine? I mean, I don't even want to say out loud the amount of money I've spent in the last 2 years to get an online business platform started. It would scare you. So we really wanted to offer something very unique that we don't feel that will be out there. And we give them a 1:30, and it's a 30-minute phone call. So we get to ask questions, and they get to ask questions. And when they do the link, they'll see criteria for what this platform is for. That's this particular one. Now, can we help other people out? Absolutely. But for your group, we thought, because I know that you have a lot of entrepreneurs,
Right.
a lot of business people in your platform, we thought this would connect with a lot of people for you.
Well, it's worth a try, and so we'll definitely put that out there. We'll put the show links there. We will have you back doing a mastermind, which are we locked in on the
Tuesday,
this coming Tuesday?
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about this.
But we'll figure that out.
Terms.
So we can get into more details there, a little more insights that we can do on an audio podcast. So we'll do that. And again, Laura Lee, I really appreciate you taking the time, sharing with the audience. I love hearing your story, love hearing what you're doing today, and definitely we'll kind of come back in. We're actually starting a new podcast that I'm calling Triggered by Warrior versus Zombie. And that'll be another podcast where we kind of get into some subject matter, some specific areas, as opposed to just the story. So I may get you back on there or one of your partners or whatever. So we'll have fun, but I appreciate it. And for that, let's land the plane. And we'll be back next week with another episode of Warrior versus Zombie and hear the final outro here of Ricky Jean Wright.